if it sends server tells client all mod content that is being used, then mod status and then mod delivery. Or it could just be like mod data. So it sends those. Basically it sends mod data and then after it sends, it'll send mod data messages. And then should I do a mod status after each of them, or should I just like have it wait? So basically the client would just wait. Maybe there's something in the mod data message that says whether the server thinks this is the final message. You know, it might be nice ultimately to have some more checks in there, but it's probably fine just with this actually. All right, so this is going to be like the mod reconciliation flow. Then there's this stuff here that's like includes customization settings. Oh, you know what? There also needs to be like, if you change your customization in the game, the ability to get that. But this is like this is like player lifetime stuff. So like connect and disconnect and the roster. Should be connected or joined. You know what? I think I'm gonna say joined. Joined is like when they're officially in the game, because connected just kind of means like the network connection was made. So let's say joined and left. Join and leave. All right. So then we need to have client message interact. We have to have add item and remove item stuff. There's like item pickup drop. So then if client receives an any message with an any type it doesn't recognize, it breaks the client. I'll just leave that in there as a bug and I can make sure that gets fixed later when I do mod reconciliation. So I'm just kind of like taking these notes and dividing them all into sections now, so I can just kind of do one logical piece at a time. Client 1 can see client 2's characters. Client 2 doesn't receive any entity messages. Yeah, there's some weirdness going on there. There was some tile weirdness. I'm just gonna put that stuff under other for now. And I'm going to get started on some of this stuff here. Yeah. So, this player roster stuff, right? Well, let's see here. What part do I want to do first? I'm kind of tempted to do item pickup drop first. Yeah, let's do that. That might be like more fun to test. All right, so I'm gonna do. Let's see here. So we need player add item and player remove item messages. So I'm gonna make those right now. So yesterday, I got the player inventory actually replicating correctly. So when the client connects, they can see their inventory. I finally figured out what was going on there. So now I'm going to add some things here for when the player receives a new item. And maybe I'll go ahead and just, I'm kind of like copying stuff over here. The item instance, and then oh, okay. This is player add item. So we're putting in player add item and player remove item. Okay. And then that's going to send that. And this is going to get this. And we're just going to take the item instance and apply it. So that should create the item on the client. And we need to add the picked up, add the item to this player's inventory. So that is I actually want to use this part here. Maybe it should this should probably be like marked client, so I'm gonna be like client add item, and we're gonna take we're gonna get the inventory instance. If it's null, then I want to see an error. Couldn't add item, player doesn't have an inventory. So then we got add at. Wait, don't I have... Don't I have a function here for just put it in the inventory? I thought I had one in here that I could just be like add. What? Entity instance give from world to inventory. Oh man. Right, and this just does like a crazy amount of stuff. Well, maybe I can do that. I mean, I could just call give on that, couldn't I? I could just say maybe we should just start calling these item ID when it's not the type. It'd be faster. All right. So then we don't have to do that. We can just do this. All right. Close a bunch of this stuff. Player.cl add item. So we're gonna do this. Oh, we need to base this off of the message. So we should get back, I feel like when we apply, we should get back the local ID. And then we add it to the inventory. All right. So when the player picks up an item, the server is going to send them this message. When they receive it, this is going to add it to their local inventory. Yeah. So now we have to add this to the network manager. All right. So now that we have that, we just need to send it. So we're going to send this. We're going to send this message when the player gets an item. I feel like this is, I'm going to have to make sure that I clean up some of this pathway stuff. Aha! If game manager is client, return false. Only pick up items on server. Alright, so below this, we ought to actually be safe. So we can't pick up items on the client. And I'm going to take everything, in fact, and put it below this. Wait, do we actually use this? Oh, we do it here. Let's put this next to where we actually use it. Try adding to equipment. Wait, yeah. Try adding to inventory. Alright, so if we didn't, then we return out. After this part, we know that we added it, and we know that we're on the server. So, at this point, we're going to say, if is player So we want to know not only that this is a player, we want to know like if it's a client, right? So that's what I need. Player manager is player. So we want to know if this entity instance, we want to know is this entity instance a client avatar? So let's make something in here that we can say is client avatar. And I'm going to start putting client and server in front of all of these things. I'm actually going to start splitting a couple of these classes here into like client and server versions so that I don't go insane trying to debug things. Server index of local player. So we want to find if the server player index, we're going to say for players, if the avatar entity instance ID equals that, and if is local player equals false, so this is server here just means it's not client, right? Yeah. If game manager is server, equals false, log error, only call, should only be called on server. This is just like a sanity thing. in case I accidentally call this on the client somehow. Alright, so if it's an avatar entity ID and it's not the local player, then it's a client avatar. So, winding our way back from that, if I want to put a convenient thing in here, I just do that. And here I say, if this is a client avatar, send it a network message with the new item edition. So that's gonna be, why don't I see a send thing? This ought to be public. Oh, I need to make the message from the item instance. I need to make the message from the item instance. Count item type ID and status. Oh, yeah, that's true. Because here's the thing. It's not necessarily that simple. You know, like, yeah, basically it's like you could just be adding something and then that item instance stops existing because it gets combined into a stack in the inventory. You know, and this here has to do with that, right? So it's like when it gets sent into the inventory, there's all of this stuff that can happen, right? Like you could just be transferring over that instance, that item instance from the world to the inventory, but you could also be destroying it. That makes this harder. Well, let's see. So and then another thing is it could be updating multiple ones, right? Because like there's also cases where you have things like you move a stack from like you pick up a stack of items and then you have a couple stacks in your inventory that are not completed. So then it takes from that stack and uses it to complete existing stacks, and then it tries to put the rest of it in a space, you know? And it's like it can also sometimes like partially add a stack. Having stacks makes inventory stuff so much more complicated, because then you can have results where it's like maybe it adds to a bunch of stacks and then the remainder doesn't have a slot to go into, so it just gets dropped again, you know? And then in that case you probably want to just keep the existing item instance until the end and turn its count down, but turn up the count on other item instances that already exist in the inventory. So when we say add item, it's actually a bit more complicated than that. And what do I have in here? I've got the item type ID that was added. There's guaranteed to be at least one. There's guaranteed to be only one of that. You're adding one item instance that can be a stack. So you're adding one particular item type ID and you're adding a count. And then this also has a status in here that's like full, none, partial swap. Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's another thing. You can have swaps. You can have situations where they drop something in the inventory, but they're actually like putting something in to an existing slot and popping the other thing out. So technically multiple things are happening. Oh my god. Yeah, that stuff just gets crazy. This is why I don't have items transferring on the network yet. Oh boy. So we have to kind of think in terms of like, what are the possible deltas here, right? On any one of these transactions, what's the complete set of things that can happen? So instead of this message being player add item, it's actually going to be something like, you know, player update inventory. Yeah, honestly, just thinking about it now, like, if I just get this done this week, if I get, like, players able to pick up and drop items and get all that stuff conveying nicely, like, just that stuff, that would be, like, a worthwhile goal for the week at this point. Really. Player inventory. So that gets you the full player inventory. And then this is, like, player... I don't want to call it player change inventory. I mean, maybe it's like player inventory delta. So what kind of stuff could be in here? There could be like... So there should be like array of additions to stacks. Max 1 item instance added to a slot. And then it could also be like went into an empty slot. And I think like the organization of the inventory is going to be like purely a local thing. Probably. Probably like it's probably something that's not saved, at least at first. Array of additions to stacks. Max 1 item instance added. And then max 1 item instance removed. So like if you swapped an item in, I'm just trying to think about like how that actually works. How does that actually work? I feel like this should be player pickup item. Yeah, it's like, do I want this to be delta? Maybe it's like player inventory delta. And then if we're adding to stacks, I feel like I should make some data types for these that get passed back in the result. So I could take the trade result and feed it directly into this. Like that's what should go in here instead of an item instance. Item transfer result. Yeah, something like this. I kind of feel like this send stuff maybe should be just part of net message really at this point, because it's like, do we ever need to send more than that? Isn't that always the same? Oh wait, we have this here already. Yeah, we do already have this. So we really only need the creation and the receive stuff to be here. All right, so this is going to be like, the transfer result is going to contain item stack. Let's make item stack change. So it's going to have item instance ID and stack change. How much does the count change? So, yeah, like this stuff here. Oh my god, there's all these results. Oh boy. Oh gosh. I want to keep this a struct. How many were transferred? You know what? Maybe we're making like another kind of thing to pass in here. So this could be an inventory change, which has stuff like an array of item stack changes, max one item instance added, do I want to have like item added. And then I could just have something that converts that into this. Well, that's what this constructor will do. And then item removed, perhaps. So we're gonna put in this. So then this is gonna be inventory change. Let's close this file once so I can rename it. So instead of having add item and remove item, we're just going to have player inventory change. And so we got to go through these changes and say if we got stack changes, we put them in here. If we got an added item, we put it in here. If we got a removed item. So what if we want to remove multiple? I think usually we're not going to do that. It's always going to be one at a time. But it's going to basically be like if changes dot item added isn't equal to null. Then we do that. And same with null. And I don't know if I have to mark these serializable, but let's just do that for the sake of me sanity. At the moment, I'm just gonna, you know what? No, let's make a network data version of it. You have network data item instance. Let's do network data item stack change. Oh yeah, because we want to have like an apply function in that too. Ah, we want to do all this stuff. All the things. Yeah, so we got these. And then if these equal null, then we just go through the list. Item instance ID, stack change. Actually, if it's unequal to null, then the first thing we do is we make the array. And we make it the same length. Then, for each of these, we set it to be a new one of these. And we pass in one of these. That's all good. And then here, we're putting in the item added. Here, we're putting in the item removed. All right. So then here, I want to pass in the item stack change on this. And we get our item instance ID. And our stack change. All right, so then this needs to return a value, and then this. Wait. Item instance is a type, but it is used like, oh. Yeah. Type or namespace this. Right. And then we got to do this a little bit later. So we'll get back to that. And then here we're applying the stack change, which means I think we should so we're not creating a new item here. But just in case we run into issues with this, I'm going to say if it doesn't exist, couldn't, let's see, try to change size of stack on non-existent, on item that doesn't exist on server. Hooray! So I don't want to do this spawn on client stuff yet. And then we don't need to do this other stuff. Really, we only need to say instance count. Wait, so I've got this instance add to count. Why don't I plus equals add set dirty? I mean, that's another way of doing it, right? I think that's how I wanted to do it initially. God, is that the better way to do it? Instead of sending messages like this, I just, account can't be used like this. It's inaccessible. Oh, of course. Yeah, no, that makes sense. But, I mean, I guess setting it dirty doesn't matter if we're on the client. Okay. Well, it's at least to the point that it's compiling now. All right, so we got our item stack changes here. Make this, we make our added items. So then when we receive it, we're gonna say, I guess we should kind of do this the same way, right? Like, for each of these that exists, we're just going to tell it apply, and then the apply function is going to actually apply it. Man, I really am kind of wondering though. Well, so it's like, so the kind of the way that I had started to set it up before was that when you make a change to an item, it sets it to dirty. And then it's like, if an inventory is set to dirty, then it'll transfer it over. And maybe that's a better way of doing it. And I did this CL add item. But then this here isn't going to actually add it. Ah, no! Yeah, see, there's another way of doing this, which I had started to do before. And that is, it's just whenever you update an item instance in an inventory, you set it to dirty. And then as a result, the inventory is set to dirty. And then when the chunk is refreshing, it sees that that inventory is dirty, and so it sends it over. Or maybe it would send the delta. Like, it would just flush the parts that are dirty, right? Maybe that makes more sense. Thing is, it's late and I'm really, really tired right now. So I kind of don't want to open that can of worms. So doing item apply. Wait, why does this have so many errors? Oh, because this has to go off of this, right? Wait, does that work? That's at least a bit better. Net message stack changes. Say what? No definition found. Isn't it right here? Oh. It has to be this net message. Operator cannot be set to null. Network data item instance is a struct, so it can't be null. Hey, Masterminder, how's it going? I'm trying to get inventory instances transfer. Well, like I'm trying to get changes to the player inventory to transfer.